All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of Real Graps. I'm your host, Joe Gierer, and this is my first show in the last 2 weeks because, there was a bit of a schedule mix up last week. We had Monday off. So coming back on Tuesday, they were running a Monday schedule. Therefore, Monday shows were running on Tuesday, and then they went straight from the Monday shows to Wednesday. So I didn't get a chance to get in here last week. So, fourth week, this is only my third show, but we do have a lot to talk about this week. It's a big week in the WWE, specifically on Saturday, coming up the Elimination Chamber, which I'll get to later on. I have my predictions for what I think is going to happen, who I think is going to win the matches. But first and foremost, I want to touch a little bit on what I missed last week because the very last thing I had talked about going into this break that I've had is the upcoming NXT Vengeance Day pay-per-view or PLE. And I had a few predictions and I said that I knew things could change, which they most certainly did. There was only 3 matches official by the time I went off the air last 2 weeks ago. And I mean, they made another 3 matches official that night. So I had warned that I might not touch on every single match that gets made for that PLE, but I touched on a few of them, and we could say that my predictions are not the best, which I know they're not, and I didn't expect to be 100% accurate, anyways. But just briefly to touch on NXT Vengeance Day from a week and a half ago or so, I thought it was a great show. I enjoyed all the matches, and yeah, I mean, a few unexpected results, at least for me. If you saw my last episode of my predictions, that opened with the women's North American title match between Stephanie Vaquer and Fallon Henley, which I had thought Fallon Henley would win only because of some outside interference and the way they've been building Julia. Stephanie Vaquer came in kind of similar to her in the way that she's been presented. And Julia lost her first title match against Roxanne due to outside interference. I thought the same would kind of happen with Stephanie Vaquer. So that wasn't the case. Stephanie Vaquer came in, wiped all the fatal influence, and just destroyed Fallon Henley and won the belt to claim her first championship inside WWE. But they then went on later in the show to kind of tease the Stephanie Vaquer versus Julia match because, as I'll talk about later, Julia outlasted the field in her match. She defeated Roxanne Bailey and Cora Jade to retain the women's NXT championship. Now, when it comes to a feud between Julia and Stephanie Vaquer, obviously the match would be great. I think everybody knows that. However, if you're going to run it, don't keep the North American title on Stephanie Vaquer because if you want to run that match, you want to run it for the NXT Women's Championship. And I don't think there's any point in holding the North American title hostage in that feud between Stephanie and Julia. And they teased Jordan Grace in there. So if they want to run a triple threat or whatnot, I mean, just don't hold that North American title hostage in that feud. That's all I ask. As for what else happened on that NXT Vengeance Day PLE, Fraxium retained the belt over Inamura and Briggs in what was a really good match. It feels like Fraxium is just incapable of having a bad match at this point. They seem to have bangers every time they go out into the ring. But they were all attacked by that new group that we were talking about a few weeks ago was getting teased at the end of the NXT shows. And it turns out the 4 members of it turned out to be Dion Lennox, Saquon Sugars, Osiris Griffin, and Cutler James. And only Dion Lennox has really been on an NXT show before that. The other 3 are PC guys. And we're not really sure what direction they're going to take. Obviously, they're a heel group, as you could tell by the way they came out and attacked not only the tag teams in the ring, but later on Obafemi after he retained. So they're going to come in a heel route. They're just kind of attacking and taking out the field right now. We're not really sure what the direction is for them and what they're going to be targeting, but we shall move forward and we shall see. So Eddie Thorpe was probably the most stunning victory of the night. I did not think that Eddie Thorpe was going to get it done in that strap match against Trick Williams, which, by the way, I was caught a little off guard the way they ran that strap match because going back to CM Punk versus Drew McIntyre last year at Bash in Berlin, the strap match was both men were tied together at the wrist with a leather strap. and the only way to win the match was to touch all 4 turnbuckles. And this match with Eddie Thorpe and Trick Williams was billed as a strap match, and they didn't have those rules. Eddie Thorpe was just he used the strap to hit a low blow, and then he ended up beating Trick off that by pinfall, which I thought was a little odd because when they built it as a strap match, I had just thought that the only way you win one was by touching all 4 corners. So um, maybe that's just my error, but that kind of caught me off guard. I thought they ran it a little weird. It felt more of a bull rope match at that point, like Cody and Shinsuke had about a year ago. But nonetheless, Eddie Thorpe is clearly getting a push as a top heel on NXT, and where it'll go, we shall see. Um, I thought maybe it was a way to bring Trick Williams up, but it seems like they're going to keep moving forward with him on NXT. Yeah, so it was a big statement for Eddie Thorpe, and clearly they have a lot of faith in him going forward. Another match I was wrong about in my prediction. Ethan Page defeated Javon Evans after that damage to his jaw and his ankle with a drop kick to the stairs. Ended up piling up. All it took was one shot from Ethan Page on the jaw to really shut down Javon Evans. And the reason I thought Javon Evans would win that match was because the way they were billing it, they billed it as Javon, too much damage to that jaw and your career could be over. So I thought he would avoid the damage and, come back as this like triumphant face over Ethan Page and take down the bad guy, even if it was by roll up. But that didn't happen. Ethan Page won. And it was a bit odd because Javon Evans was right back on NXT on Tuesday, which was a little odd, which we'll get into later. But nonetheless, Ethan Page defeated Javon Evans. As I kind of mentioned before, Obafemi came up against 8-Town Down Under, Grayson Waller and Austin Theory, and he retained the NXT Championship. That was also a really fun match. This new mystery group attacked him after as well. So, and as I said again before, Julia outlasted the field. She retained her championship, and that was that, the end of NXT Vengeance Day. Now, moving forward to the NXT after Vengeance Day. We opened up with that angry Obafemi segment, and he was calling out these 4 guys who came out and attacked him. He said, "Come out and take the beating you deserve," which they did not come out. It was Moose from not NXT. It was Moose from TNA, the X Division champ, that came out, who I'm pretty unfamiliar with. I'm not a TNA watcher. As I said on my first episode, I am a WWE watcher. I don't pay attention really to the outside wrestling companies. Maybe I'll see a few things here and there on social media in regards to like AEW and TNA, but I'm not familiar with the work of Moose, but I've heard good things for the most part. So if they want to, run that match, maybe at Roadblock at MSG, which I'm thinking about going to myself, I think it would be fun. And I'm curious to see Moose in action, which Moose will be in action tonight for the first time on NXT. He's taking on Lexis King for the X Division Championship, his belt, not the Heritage Cup. And yeah, I'll be watching, and I'm curious to see what Moose does because I've heard good things. And if those good things turn out to be right, then Oba versus Moose would be a great match, I'm sure. They ran a triple threat between Carmen Petrovic, Jada Parker, and Ilani Jordan to determine the #1 championship to Stephanie Vaquers and a North American title now. And Carmen Petrovic ended up stealing the win off of Jada Parker's move. She pinned Kalani. So she booked herself a date in Cincinnati with Stephanie Vaquer for the belt, which is going to run tonight on NXT. Jordan Grace helped out Julia and Stephanie against Fatal Influence, who came out to jump them. And that set up the main event match later in the night. Jordan Grace's first match as an official member of the NXT roster. Some other things to touch on. Zarya and Sol Ruka ended up getting a win over the Meta Girls, which I didn't really see them getting. I thought the Meta Girls would get that win, but nonetheless, we continue to move. One of the bigger events of the night was the official signing of Ricky Saints now, formerly Ricky Starks in AEW. They were kind of moving carefully about his name. They wouldn't want to say it. So everybody was worried they were going to make this drastic change. I would have preferred them keep it Starks, but something minor like Ricky Saints I can deal with. It rolls off the tongue pretty nicely. It represents New Orleans, which is said is where he's from. So yeah, he's an official member of NXT, but that contract signing was not without some turmoil. It started off with Ethan Page coming out to interrupt him, a familiar foe from AEW. Of course, they had to do that, get that little petty shot in. But he ended up getting chased off by Javon Evans, and later on, Wes Lee came out and caught a right hand and a clothesline out of the ring for his troubles. So seems like Ricky Saints, Ricky Starks, whatever you want to call him, he's not making friends off the bat in NXT. And that led a little bit later in the show to them booking a match for tonight in Cincinnati, stacked NXT tonight. Ricky Saints and Javon Evans versus Ethan Page and Wes Lee in a tag match, which, if you know any of the talent in the ring, that's going to be a great match. And I'm looking very forward to it. But that's not necessarily the tag match I'm looking forward to the most tonight, based on my nostalgia, my childhood. The NQCC interrupted a Fraxium interview backstage to call their shot against the Hardy Boys, who are the current TNA tag team champions. And the Hardys came on and they accepted. So NQCC versus the Hardy Boys tonight on NXT in Cincinnati. That's a match I'm really looking forward to. And it's because when I was a kid, obviously, these guys, Matt Hardy, Jeff Hardy, like, they're big deals growing up to a kid who's about my age at 21. So, I'm looking really forward to that. And I'm hoping they end up running the Hardys versus Fraxium for the NXT tag team titles at Roadblock in a few weeks. Because, like I said before, that's a show I'm thinking about going to personally, and seeing the Hardy Boys wrestle, and Fraxium, everybody. But that would be a great match, I'm sure. And the opportunity to see the Hardy Boys wrestle, as a kid who saw them growing up, that would be a great honor. So I'm really looking forward to that, and I'm hoping that's the direction they take. Sean Spears had a victory over Stax Lorenzo. Tony D was nowhere to be found yet again. Eddie Thorpe came out. He defeated Andre Chase in a match that was set up earlier in the night, which we kind of expected when they started it. And then Trick Williams came on the screen and he let Eddie Thorpe know that their story is far from over. So we're just going to have to see how that plays out. I'm sure Trick will come out triumphant in that feud. I'm sticking with my prediction from a few weeks ago. I don't think Eddie Thorpe is going to get one over on Trick Williams again. So, yes. In the main event, Jordan Grace ended up picking up the win for her team, which was a very star-studded team. Like I said earlier, Julia, Stephanie Vaquer, Jordan Grace versus Fatal Influence in a 6-woman tag match. It was a great match. It was a fun match. And it was a big statement that Jordan Grace was the one to get the win, considering you have the 2 women's champions on the brand on your side. So, yeah. And I don't know what Jordan Grace's first official singles feud will be in NXT, but kind of have to assume that it'll be for a belt. That wraps up NXT from last week and Vengeance Day. Another NXT tonight, very action-packed, stacked episode. I recommend tuning in if you don't, or if you didn't plan on it, I recommend tuning into NXT. Now, as for the main roster, I don't want to focus too much on the weekly shows, Monday Night Raw and Friday Night SmackDown. I want to get into the Elimination Chamber as fast as possible, but this is a recap show, so I'm going to tell you what I think is important from these past 2 episodes of Friday Night SmackDown and Monday Night Raw. So, first of all, SmackDown, because it happened first in relation to our show. SmackDown started, Jimmy stole a win from Drew McIntyre, which Drew now in the last month has caught L's to both Uso brothers, both of them by roll-up. And Drew, of course, snapped on Jimmy, and he was very happy afterwards because he got his lick back, per se, on Jimmy Uso. But, I don't really know what the direction is with Drew. In terms of Elimination Chamber, I kind of see him winning it because they've been building a feud between him and Cody Rhodes, but I'm not exactly sure now. I thought they would hold that feud until further down the line, but we'll see. I'll talk about it a little later on. Zelina Vega had a video package, and she said she still has something to prove, which I'm sure is in relation to the United States Championship and Chelsea Green. I'm sure that's her next feud. Not her next feud per se, Chelsea Green's I'm talking about, because she has a match upcoming this Friday on SmackDown in Toronto. And it's against some mystery opponent, and I don't think Zelina Vega will be a mystery opponent for her. It'll probably be someone like Natalya because they're in Toronto, but in terms of a proper feud, I'm sure Zelina Vega will get Chelsea Green next. Mellow Don't Miz, who they've for some reason been pushing, defeated Louisiana Knight, LA Knight, because of that stupid segment with R-Truth. It was funny again. R-Truth is just, in my opinion, top 2 comedy wrestlers of all time, if not top 1. But R-Truth and LA Knight lost to Mellow Don't Miz with a little help from Shinsuke Nakamura. This whole Mellow Don't Miz thing, I'll admit it's a great name. Will they keep it going moving forward? That tag team tandem between Carmelo Hayes and The Miz, who knows? I don't know if it'll do work to hurt or help Carmelo Hayes because The Miz is a respected face in this business, but a lot of people like just don't really. I've seen complaints about The Miz being on the show, which I don't necessarily get because he is a legend and he is a Hall of Famer. But yeah, Mellow Don't Miz. I don't know if it's going to continue, but it was fun for the one night that it happened, in my opinion. Tiffany had a match against Candice, and she came out excuse me, she came out and dominated Candice LeRae with Charlotte Flair at ringside, but she ended up getting jumped by Nia and Candice after the match. Trish Stratus came out to help build towards their match this Saturday in Toronto against the two, but they ended up both getting laid out. And once again, Charlotte Flair came in and just stood over tall, wanting to get the WrestleMania sign over Tiffany Stratton. So they're kind of building this underdog story, I guess, for Tiffany Stratton going into WrestleMania, which is not personally what I wanted to see. Tiffany Stratton is a heel. I know they're trying to transition her as an underdog babyface, but I feel like there's way too many of those, not only in WWE, but in professional wrestling in general. So I don't really want them to build it that way, even though that seems to be the way that they are building it. I would prefer Tiffany to go back to the way she acted against Becky Lynch when she had the NXT Women's Championship about a year ago or so. I thought that was a fun build and a fun feud for her. So I would just love for her to tap back into that a little bit, at least going into the Charlotte feud instead of just getting, bullied and stood tall over every single week going into it, because at some point that gets repetitive and that gets boring. But what do I know? There was supposed to be a match between Liv Morgan and Naomi, but Liv Morgan and Raquel, typical heel movements, came out, attacked them before the match, laid out both Bianca and Naomi, building towards their scheduled tag title match for last night. Alexa Bliss had a video package calling her shot at the Elimination Chamber, saying that she's won it before, she'll win it again, she'll make it her playground. Kind of building towards that match, of course. Do I think Alexa Bliss is going to win? No, we'll talk about that later. But I don't think she'll win. But it was a good promo, and I hope that she has a good showing in the match because it is her second official match since returning at the Royal Rumble. Now, as I mentioned before, Chelsea Green is in action next week against who we don't know. Told you I think it's going to be Natalya, not anything. Natalya is well respected. She's a legend in the business, of course, but nothing major, no major return or anything. Just a fun match, get her on the Toronto card. But she shouldn't win. Chelsea should win. You can't have your champion taking pinfall losses back to back, especially if it's a title match. Chelsea should retain. WrestleMania 42 got announced in New Orleans, and that was done by The Rock. And this is the focal point that I wanted to touch on for Friday Night SmackDown, and I'm sure the focal point for a lot of WWE watchers after that night, because we'll face it, me included, we were all confused by that segment after it ran. I was extremely confused. I did not know what the hell was going on. It was just such an odd, it felt awkward between Cody and The Rock. But obviously now it's pretty clear what's going on. The Rock is on the TKO board, and that plays into his character. He says that, he acknowledges that publicly. So, being the final boss, he wants Cody to be his champion. And he was very repetitive of that throughout the promo, throughout his little speech that he gave. But I was confused at first. And I was watching the show with my grandparents. They were confused as well. Anybody I talked to was confused about that segment. But essentially, The Rock wants Cody to become the corporate champion. And there have been several corporate champions in the past. The Rock himself was one of them. Stone Cold turned and sided with Vince McMahon while he had the belt. And Randy Orton was another one that went corporate. And most recently, I would say Seth Rollins went corporate. And will Cody turn? Will Cody not? They've kind of sprinkled a little heel into Cody's character recently, especially throughout that feud with Kevin Owens, leading into the Royal Rumble. They've kind of sprinkled some hints of Cody Rhodes turning heel at some point down the line here. Will it be in Toronto? I don't know. I have a prediction for that coming up. As I've alluded to throughout this show, I have elimination chamber predictions at the end of this episode, of course. It wouldn't be a proper show if I didn't. But yeah, it was a bit of a weird segment. Cody Rhodes was left, with the face that I think all the watchers had. It was a bit confusing, but The Rock wants Cody Rhodes to become a corporate champion. Will he do it? Who knows? We'll see on Saturday. The Street Profits interrupted a tag title match between DIY and Pretty Deadly. Laid out the entire field. Motor City Machine Guns came out. They got dropped as well. And Street Profits are getting a strong push as a heel tag team going into WrestleMania. Should they win the belts at WrestleMania or before or after? I'm perfectly fine with. I feel like they'll be great tag team champions. Kevin Owens cut a funny and great promo outside of Sami Zayn's house, which he was kind of telling him that I'll never forgive you for making me do this, not to you, but to your family. And he was saying that he was going to end Sami's career. The typical build that they've been giving going into this match. But again, it was a good promo. It was a psycho promo from Kevin Owens outside Sami Zayn's house, which is pretty funny because you kind of assume he just went outside. Oh, I got to cut a promo. And then he went right back in. They went right back to hanging out. But that's leading into their unsanctioned match in Toronto on Saturday at the Elimination Chamber. What'll happen in that match? All that's guaranteed is they're going to beat the hell out of each other. And I wanted to say another word for hell, but I don't think I can on here. They're going to beat the hell out of each other in that match. So, and then leading into the end of SmackDown, there was a tag match between Jacob and Solo going against Damian Priest and Braun Strowman, to which Damian Priest and Braun Strowman won after Jacob Fatu accidentally super kicked Solo in the face. I think that Jacob versus Solo is going to be the WrestleMania match, and they're building some tension between the two these last few weeks, ever since Solo Sikoa returned. So we move forward with that. That was the end of SmackDown for Friday night. Not the worst show I've ever seen, not the best show, but it pales in comparison to Monday Night Raw. Now, Monday Night Raw last night was, in my opinion, a great show. We opened with a segment between Logan and CM Punk, which I'll talk about really quickly. I didn't think it was the greatest segment. Wasn't the best work from Logan. Wasn't the best work from CM Punk. But it's a little bit of a build towards Elimination Chamber. And not necessarily the best segment, like I said. However, I want to say very quickly that them having that segment worries me a little bit. And it worries me because if you trace the history of Logan Paul, 2023 came in the Royal Rumble. He threw out Seth Rollins. 2023 Elimination Chamber. He came in and he cost Seth Rollins the chamber. That led to their match at WrestleMania. Fast forward a year to 2024, Logan's the US champ. He defends against Kevin Owens at the Royal Rumble and beats him by DQ with the brass knuckles Kevin Owens used. And then you fast forward to the Elimination Chamber. There was beef still between Kevin Owens and Logan Paul. And Logan got eliminated by Randy Orton and proceeded to hit Randy Orton with the brass knucks and cost him the chamber match. What did that lead to? Triple threat at Mania. Logan's foe at the Royal Rumble and the Elimination Chamber these last 2 years has been who he fights at WrestleMania. Logan Paul eliminated CM Punk in the Royal Rumble match about 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, whatever it was. And now they're running a segment on the Go Home Raw between CM Punk and Logan Paul going into the Elimination Chamber. If Logan Paul costs CM Punk the Elimination Chamber and it leads to CM Punk versus Logan Paul at WrestleMania, I'm not going to be happy because I feel like CM Punk deserves to be in a bigger match than that. Logan Paul's cool. I've said on these past 2 episodes, I think he's a good wrestler. He's a good heel. Could use some mic work, as saw last night, but Logan Paul should not be wrestling anybody of CM Punk's magnitude on this WrestleMania. And that brings me into my next point. He better not cost John Cena that chamber match, because if Logan Paul is running against John Cena at WrestleMania 41 in Vegas, this is John Cena's last WrestleMania match, and I think John Cena should not be wrestling for anything less than a world championship, his record-setting 17th world championship, or he should be wrestling some big name from his past, like CM Punk. Logan Paul should not cost CM Punk the chamber match. It should not cause John Cena the chamber match, and it should not lead to a WrestleMania match between any of the two with Logan Paul. Because number one, I don't think the build would be all the way there. And number two, I don't think it's what those two deserve. Logan can get a cool WrestleMania match. He can put on a good match, as we've seen in the past. He does not deserve, in my opinion, to wrestle CM Punk, and most definitely not John Cena on his final WrestleMania appearance. Sorry. Rant aside, let's keep moving forward with Monday Night Raw. Ludwig Kaiser got a big win in a triple threat match last night against Penta and Pete Dunne. He ended up pinning Pete Dunne, which I'm not sure the direction for Pete Dunne. I'm sure they're going to wait until Tyler Bate comes back and continue moving forward with a New Catch Republic with something of some sorts. But that was Penta's first loss in WWE, if you don't count the Royal Rumble loss. It was his first loss in an actual pinfall or submission match. But he wasn't the one that got pinned, which I liked. I thought it was good. Make him face a little adversity without making him look weak. And Ludwig Kaiser looked clever, came in, threw him out, took the win over Pete Dunne. Good build for Ludwig. I'm sure he's going to get a good mid-card push at some point this year. So good match, by the way. It was a really well-done match, in my opinion. The New Day came out. They got a win over the LWO and laid out all of them, including Dragon Lee. So they're continuing forward with this feud with the LWO and the New Day. They turned heel in November, haven't gotten a tag title match since, which I thought they would by now. We shall see moving forward. But I feel like that New Day and LWO feud should be done by now. Finn was still passing blame in the clubhouse. He and Dominic got back into it. And like I mentioned, I didn't mention this last week because it wasn't the report. However, they're rumoring, like they teased last night, Finn Balor versus Braun Breaker, which, by the way, great match. They've teased Finn Balor versus AJ Styles, not on TV, but they teased it online as a potential match going into Mania. The match for Finn Balor going into Mania should be Dominic Mysterio because they've been building towards that feud, and Dominic, I feel, has done everything in his power to deserve that. He's been involved directly with Rey Mysterio these last few Manias, and I feel like he deserves to get away from that loop now. And building him against Finn Balor seems like something they're doing, and I feel like it's a spotlight at WrestleMania that Dominic Mysterio deserves based on the work that he's put in and the work that he's produced on camera and in the ring. So Finn versus Dom seems to be brewing. That Judgment Day, as currently sits, will not be together much longer. I can assure you of that. I don't think so. But Finn Balor, Dominic Mysterio, I feel like that should be the WrestleMania match moving forward at WrestleMania 41 in Las Vegas, April 19th and April 20th. Tune in. I'm sure everybody watching this will, if you're a wrestling fan. But yeah. So Finn was still passing blame. Dom mentioned a new member. Sorry. Mouth is a little dry today. I'm spewing my words all over the place, but new member, who could it be? Who knows? Maybe Aleister Black if he returns. That's what people are suggesting online. We'll see moving forward, but I think they're going to end up with a new member or new leader kicking Finn Balor out some point down the line here soon. One of the best squash matches I've ever seen watching professional wrestling was done by Gunther and Akira Tozawa. Gunther came out. He said that he talked to Adam Pearce about being in action last night, and he handpicked his opponent, which, of course, you knew it was going to be Akira Tozawa because a heel champion will never come out and handpick himself a worthy opponent. Now, that was a very fun match. It was a funny segment. Gunther did great work. Some people were saying it was his best match in God knows how long, which is crazy to consider. But Akira Tozawa can really go. And if they abandon this kind of comedy character that he's had, I wouldn't be surprised if he gets a good mid-card push because he is that talented and he is that good of a wrestler in the ring. But that was really fun. That was really well done. Jey Uso still got involved, came out, made the save for Alpha Academy after the match to continue building towards he and Gunther's feud at WrestleMania, which Yeet Mania is real. He's going to win that belt. Lyra Valkyria retained in a solid match with Dakota Kai, although it was a little bit fast, in my opinion. They didn't get enough time. But Ivy Nile came out after the match and attacked Lyra, which, as I said before, I thought that was her next feud. But then she came out and lost the qualifier match last week, which in hindsight, I don't think really made sense because Dakota Kai, you just had her win that match to come out and lose again. which she's somebody who we feel as a fan base is worthy of holding that Intercontinental Women's strap. So to have her just rematch Lyra Valkyria and lose like that, just for Ivy Nile to come out and get involved afterwards, doesn't really make sense to me. And I don't think it made sense to a lot of the fan base. Dakota Kai does deserve the spotlight and the title matches. But if you were going to run Lyra versus Ivy, unless Ivy is the one that's going to dethrone Lyra Valkyria, why wouldn't you just run that match first and have Dakota Kai get a rematch later on? So that one, it's more believable that she's going to win, because I don't think many people thought she was going to win that belt last night. Lyra had no defenses before that. And yeah, I don't think the order of things really made sense. I think Ivy should have just won last week and had her match either last night or in the coming weeks. But yeah, the order of things there just didn't really make sense to me. But Lyra retained, and Ivy Nile came in and attacked her. The Judgment Day attacked Braun Breaker, resulting in a DQ in his match against Dominic Mysterio, to which, like I mentioned before, they teased Finn versus Braun, which Finn Balor getting a singles title feud, great. Let's do it. Get him back in the title picture, because I feel like he's deserved it. He's taken so many pins. He's put so many people over that I feel like he deserves some crack at singles gold. For the first time in a long time, even though he had the crack at World Heavyweight Championship gold, Damian Priest forced his way into that match. So don't really count it, because it wasn't his solo feud. Finn versus Braun is one hell of a match. Let's make it happen. Don't make it the WrestleMania match. You can easily run Braun versus AJ Styles and run Finn versus Dom, like I said. Do not screw Dominic Mysterio out of a premier WrestleMania feud going in. The War Raiders jumped the Creeds backstage as Ivy Nile was cutting a promo to build towards their scheduled tag match for the tag belts next week. Seth and Cody had a great segment. They had a great segment. And it feels like those two, anytime they're in the ring together, whether it be a segment or a match, it's top tier. And as I said before, they're throwing little hints of Cody Rhodes turning heel into his promos, which was showed last night against Seth Rollins, because Seth came out and interrupted Cody Rhodes talking about The Rock, giving him everything he ever wanted and not having to fight for it. And Seth reminded him, dude, you and I haven't always seen eye to eye, but I came to bat for you last year at WrestleMania 40 to put Roman Reigns down out of power. And we were fighting against The Rock, who was trying to help Roman Reigns stay in power. So he wanted to remind Cody, I don't hate you, but don't make me hate you, which I thought was a great line, because it takes a little bit of a build towards WrestleMania, probably. I don't know how many people think Seth Rollins has a shot at winning this chamber. I personally don't think he's going to win. But if he did, building that story with Cody turning heel and Seth Rollins remaining face, them getting into it again as they did a few years back, that would be great. However, Cody Rhodes took a shot at Seth Rollins right off the bat. You like that snap? Right off the bat, he took a shot at Seth Rollins, saying, I know the kind of person you are. They're friends. And he kind of alluded to that first, but he kind of alluded to that soon after, but first he had to take shots at Seth. And the stuff he was saying, even though it was true, it was kind of reminiscent of a heel. So they're kind of still toying with this and teasing it, per se. But he took shots at Seth and he said, I know you. I know the kind of person you are. You went corporate back when you were WWE champion and ran a guy like me out of business. I remember you putting a sledgehammer to my back after we battled at Hell in a Cell when I had the tore pec. I remember these things. So it was a bit heelish from Cody, but then they seemed like they were on solid terms going to the end of the promo. But Seth gave him that stark reminder, do not make me hate you. Do not side with The Rock. I thought it was a great segment, and it just puts more tension and more build into this potential heel turn of Cody Rhodes on Saturday going corporate. And yeah, it was a nice way to round out that angle going into the Elimination Chamber on Saturday. And your main event was awesome. The women's tag match main event was amazing. I thought it was a phenomenal match. I kind of anticipated a Jade Cargill return, which didn't happen, but the match cooked. Every single woman was on their A game that match. The near falls were incredible. The spots were great. Dominic Mysterio came out and helped out which we haven't, I didn't really think he would, which why wouldn't you? I guess I'm stupid because it's Dominic Mysterio. He's always going to come out and help out. But the near falls in that match were great. The spots in that match were great. All 4 women in that match were great. And at no point did I think, oh, yeah, it's obvious that Bianca and Naomi will retain. Oh, it's obvious that Liv and Raquel are going to win and become the first 3-time women's tag team champions. No, I had no idea which way that match was going. But I did think that whoever won that match was not going to win the Elimination Chamber between Liv and Bianca. Those are the top 2 picks for winning the chamber. And me and a lot of others believe that that match last night determined who wins the chamber. And that segues perfectly out of Monday Night Raw and into the coming pay-per-view this Saturday. Elimination Chamber in Toronto, Canada. 4 matches, 1 segment. Should be a great show, has a lot of hype around it. Our final PLE leading into WrestleMania 41 in Las Vegas, which, if I'm not mistaken, I believe there's some sort of Saturday night main event sprinkled somewhere in there. But nonetheless, last actual PLE before WrestleMania 41. And the match card looks great. There's that highly anticipated segment between Cody and The Rock. Who knows what's going to happen there? But I'll give you my predictions. So, Elimination Chamber card and predictions. Starting off with what I would say is the lowest stakes match of all of them, which is Tiffany Stratton and Trish Stratus versus Candice LeRae and Nia Jax in a women's tag match. Now, I feel like this match was kind of done maybe not at the request of Trish Stratus, but maybe because they wanted to get Trish Stratus in action on the Toronto card. And I don't really think there's, any real stakes behind it other than they're going to go out and have a tag match. Who's going to win that match? I believe Tiffany and Trish Stratus winning that match feels pretty obvious to me. I don't think Candice LeRae and Nia Jax would win that match. 1 in Toronto and 2 going into WrestleMania season. When Trish Stratus, we don't even know if she's going to be at WrestleMania. I don't know if this run is going to continue or if she just wanted to have a match at Toronto at Elimination Chamber. And Tiffany Stratton already has her feud booked with Charlotte for WrestleMania 41. So having Tiffany and Candice LeRae, or Nia and Candice LeRae, I'm all over the place today. I apologize. Having Nia and Candice LeRae win this match just doesn't feel realistic to me. And it feels like it would be absolutely pointless if they did. Tiffany and Trish win that match. Now, Sami Zayn versus Kevin Owens in an unsanctioned match. For anybody who doesn't know what the hell an unsanctioned match is in WWE, because I don't know if they've happened before. It's essentially a no DQ match. The fighter is able to do anything necessary to win the match, and WWE is not held responsible for any injuries or violence that may occur. That's your definition. If they want to brawl into the street, they can brawl into the street. If they want to, chop each other's heads off, they want to break each other's arms, legs, crack each other's skulls, whatever they do, WWE is not responsible for any damages during this match. And they are essentially they can't do anything about it. They have to just let it play through. That's what an unsanctioned match is. And in that field, who do I think is going to win? Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens is going to win. He's the psycho heel. And even though Sami Zayn is not tapping into a heel side, but a psycho side in regards to what he wants to do to Kevin Owens on Saturday, I feel like this match is right up Kevin Owens' alley. You're going to see some things that you thought you wouldn't see in WWE. I don't know if anybody has seen, but that compilation that comes about of Kevin Steen versus El Generico, a.k.a. Sami Zayn versus Kevin Owens, way back when they had a no DQ match, and you see some ridiculous spots, and it was a hell of a match. And I feel like we're going to end up getting that again, some sort or a variation of it at Elimination Chamber, where they just go crazy on one another. And I feel like it's going to result in Kevin Owens being the winner by God knows how, by some random package pile driver off who knows where. He's definitely hitting one in the match, probably through a table or something. I'm really looking forward to it. A lot of people have said they feel like it can main event, which could, but it won't because it's Elimination Chamber. So likely the men's chamber is going to main event that PLE, which in regards to my bold predictions, we're going to need to happen. I'll get to that in a second. Now, uh, I feel like Kevin Owens is going to absolutely obliterate Sammy towards the end of that match and win it. But I don't think he's going to stop even after the match ends because, like we said, WWE has no power over this matchup. They have no ability to um, kind of interfere in what goes on. So I feel like Kevin Owens will take advantage of that. He's been talking about ending Sammy's career. There'll be no mercy. Kevin Owens will win the match and he'll continue to attack Sami Zayn afterwards and try and put him out of action. Will somebody come in to save Sami Zayn? I don't know, but we'll see. And pretty obvious prediction, but Kevin Owens will leave bloody. Sami Zayn will leave bloody. One of them will be left in a pool of blood, I'm sure. That should be a fun match. Now, what does it lead to down the line? Some people have said that Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens can fix this at WrestleMania. Not fix it, but resolve the issue with some sort of Hell in a Cell match. Now, I don't think that's going to happen. Why? Not only because it's not been reported, but because I just feel like, you know, if they're running an unsanctioned match, what does unsanctioned mean? Anything goes. Nobody can stop it. This is about as violent and bloody a match as it gets. Does having a Hell in a Cell really do anything to further this feud after? Maybe. Probably not. It won't feel like a repeat of this match, but I feel like this match is bloody enough and violent enough to the fact that Hell in a Cell is not what's going to come. For Kevin Owens, there's been a rumored Randy Orton match at WrestleMania between the two. Randy, we haven't seen in a while. The reason I alluded to somebody coming back after the match is because if WWE themselves can't directly get involved, maybe you see the return of Randy Orton to come attack Kevin Owens if he's trying to lay it on Sami Zayn afterwards and build to a WrestleMania feud between the two. Sami Zayn, we don't really know. They've been teasing with Karrion Kross a lot, and that's been reportedly happening, you know, at WrestleMania. Like, there's been so many reports, but you don't know what's true and what's not. But Sami Zayn and Karrion Kross at WrestleMania is a possibility, which some people say, oh, Sami Zayn doesn't deserve that low card of a feud, but Karrion Kross deserves to feud with a higher talent on the card because he's put in great work. He's done good ring work. He's done good backstage work. He's done good promo work. Karrion Kross is underrated, and I feel like a build between him and Sami continuing kind of just makes sense, and they'll have that match at some point down the line, WrestleMania or not. So that leads into, will Cody Rhodes sell his soul to Dwayne "The Rock," the Final Boss Johnson? And let's look at both sides of the coin. If he says yes, Cody Rhodes will turn heel for the first time since returning to WWE at WrestleMania 38. He's been the ultimate babyface to this point, but it seems like he's starting to crack a little bit. Should he turn and go on the side of The Rock, we will have heel Cody for the first time in WWE since his early run, and for the first time in the last 3 years. Corporate heel champion Cody is a very interesting thing to explore, in my opinion. I feel like it's a very interesting thing to explore. There's plenty of potential feuds that open up if Cody turns heel, and some people have billed him as a boring champion. I've kind of enjoyed it. But again, I don't think it really takes too much to please me. Pretty easygoing guy, and I pretty much like a lot of things that maybe a lot of people will like be too critical of, like Cody's title reign. But at least recently it's picked up. And Cody Rhodes turning heel, without a doubt, opens up many, many potential feuds. And yeah, I mean, I feel like it would be a lot more exciting than Cody as a babyface right now. My personal opinion. And some feuds that open up with that chamber match, if that happens, are John Cena, CM Punk, Seth Rollins. Those are all potential feuds if Cody goes heel. Should Cody turn heel, I don't think a Drew McIntyre feud would happen because Drew McIntyre would be like, see, you're finally coming to my side. You know, typical Drew McIntyre stuff. Like, yes, you finally seen the light. That feud won't happen. But yes, those names I mentioned, Cena, Punk, Rollins, all potential feuds if Cody should side with The Rock. Now, a few of those sides or feuds are still open if Cody doesn't side with The Rock. So should he say no, the very unlikely scenario is that Cody attacks The Rock after he denies the offer, and it sets up some sort of Cody versus Rock feud. Now, The Rock has openly said, pretty much confirmed that he and Cody will not be getting in the ring together. It's more about storytelling. So, will that match happen? Probably not. Um, it won't happen. That match isn't going to happen. That's the very unlikely scenario. Now, could The Rock still attack Cody Rhodes after he declines that offer? Yes, but it wouldn't lead to a matchup between the two. Um, the likely scenario in that case is that The Rock goes and finds a new guy to be his corporate champion. And who are some potential options for this spot? CM Punk reuniting with his former, top foe in WWE back in 2013. The fact that Dwayne is in the main event of WrestleMania and I'm not makes me sick. We could throw that all away. Throw it in the past. CM Punk turns heel. He sides with the corporate and he does anything in his power to get that WrestleMania main event. That's one option. Another option is Seth Rollins turning heel again, because that's also been teased in these last few weeks and siding himself with The Rock after critiquing Cody Rhodes for potentially siding with The Rock. And it wouldn't be very unlike Seth Rollins if he did this, because he has a history of doing this kind of thing. So Seth Rollins turning heel is another option. One that just popped in mind, he could also find Kevin Owens and get him on his side because of everything Kevin Owens has been going through recently and the kind of change in attitude he's had ever since Bad Blood. It would fit well with what The Rock is pushing, and I'm sure he would sell out in a heartbeat. But speaking of somebody who would sell out in a heartbeat, I'm sure, is Drew McIntyre. And I feel like he's the most likely option to turn and side with The Rock. Not turn, because he's already heel, but he's the most likely option to side with The Rock should Cody Rhodes decline. And that would further build a feud between Drew McIntyre and Cody Rhodes in the future. Maybe at WrestleMania, maybe not. And The Rock could also interfere with the Chamber to help his guy win, whichever one of those guys I just said to be his guy. He could also somehow interfere and help them win the Chamber to get the match against Cody Rhodes to become his champion. Now, one scenario is maybe The Rock just entirely strips Cody Rhodes of the WWE Championship and puts it on whoever his so-called champion is. Who knows? This guy can do pretty much whatever he wants with the position he's in and the storyline that's going. So we'll just have to wait and see. Now, my bold prediction is, well, first of all, my prediction is Cody says no. I don't think Cody Rhodes is going to turn heel on Saturday. But I have a bold prediction, which I'll get into very shortly. The women's elimination chamber match is between Bayley, Roxanne Perez, Liv Morgan, Alexa Bliss, Naomi, and Bianca Belair. Predictions for that match, I feel like Roxanne is going to have a similar coming out party to Tiffany Stratton last year at WrestleMania, or not WrestleMania, at Elimination Chamber in Australia. I feel like she'll have a really good showing to sort of build her up on the main roster going forward. And I also think she'll eliminate Bayley to continue that feud that they've been running for about a month now. My final two is Bianca Belair and Liv Morgan. I feel like they're going to just explore that one more time. Keep people guessing, oh, who's going to win, Bianca, Liv Morgan. And I feel like Bianca Belair, as I mentioned before, whoever lost that tag title match last night was going to win the Chamber. Bianca and Naomi lost. So in my opinion, Bianca is going to end up winning the Elimination Chamber and going on to face Rhea Ripley at WrestleMania for her World Championship. Whether that's as a face or a heel, who knows? Because Jade Cargill could still come out. I don't think she will during the Chamber. But at some point in this WrestleMania build, Jade Cargill could come out and she could reveal Bianca and Naomi as her attackers, leading to Bianca being a heel. And then you have a face versus heel, Rhea versus Bianca feud going into Mania, which I feel like would be very fun. So you could also throw Io Sky in that mix, which people have talked about her going bonkers and finding herself in that WrestleMania match as well. But she has a title match next week on Raw. So I think Bianca is going to end up going on to WrestleMania to face Rhea Ripley for the World Championship. I feel like Naomi is definitely going to be revealed as either the sole attacker or one of the attackers of Jade Cargill, and them two are going to end up having to go at WrestleMania. I don't think it'll be Bianca this year. And then I feel like Bayley versus Roxanne might happen at Mania if they want to go that route, but it's most definitely happening one-on-one at some point down the line. Now, the men's elimination chamber match, the final match on this card, is between John Cena, CM Punk, Seth Rollins, Drew McIntyre, Damian Priest, and Logan Paul, which is very star-studded and very stacked. Some predictions I have for that, I feel like John Cena versus CM Punk are the two most likely winners of that chamber, which I'm kind of flip-flopping back and forth. I can see Rollins winning it in some world. I can't see Damian and I can't see Logan. Those are the two I know are not going to win. Rollins, I don't think is going to win, but I can see it. Drew McIntyre, I'm a little conflicted on because I could definitely see him winning it, whether by heel tactics or not, because they've been building that feud with Cody Rhodes. But the two most likely options I see winning this chamber are John Cena and CM Punk. Now, I'm going to roll with those two as my final two. Whether one of them is going to, not one of them, CM Punk, because John Cena, people are talking about John Cena turning heel. He's not turning heel on a farewell tour. It's not going to happen. Anybody feuding with John Cena would have to turn heel because I don't think they can just flip John Cena to heel during a farewell tour. Now, is CM Punk going to turn heel? He's going to pull some heel tactics to win, do anything in his power to get that Mania main event? Who knows? But I don't think CM Punk is going to align with The Rock on Saturday, if at all, because he has that looming favor from Paul Heyman from War Games that just goes down the drain, I feel like, if CM Punk just sides with The Rock and he's able to get whatever he wants. That whole favorite thing just goes down the drain. So I don't think that's the route. But I have those two as my final two because I feel like those are the two most realistic options to win the Elimination Chamber match. Now, who do I have winning? I'm going to go hopeful, and I'm going to hope that John Cena wins because, as I said before, it's a waste for him to not be competing for a world title in his final WrestleMania. John Cena is the biggest name in the history of professional wrestling, in my opinion. Not having him main event this, WrestleMania for a potential record-setting 17th World Championship feels like a swing and a miss to me. And I just feel like John Cena should win. That's who I'm rolling with. I'm rolling with my guy, my childhood guy, John Cena. Let's get it done. Let's feud with Cody. Let's win that belt at WrestleMania because you deserve it, my man. Now, getting into some bold predictions for this Elimination Chamber match. I could see that Drew gets help from The Rock should Cody decline the offer, and he ends up repeating as the Chamber winner and going into WrestleMania against Cody Rhodes in a title feud. That's a very realistic option, in my opinion, based on the way things have gone. I can see Roman Reigns coming in to interfere and cost Seth Rollins the Chamber, therefore setting up a 1v1 Rollins versus Roman match at WrestleMania, which I would love to see. And to me, I just feel like that's going to happen. I don't know why. I don't really see that as a bold prediction. That's just something that for some reason I like 95% believe is going to happen. So we'll just have to see. Again, Logan Paul could cost Punk or Cena, and I won't rant about that again, but I'll just say, please, no, don't make that happen. Neither one of those should wrestle Logan Paul at WrestleMania. You could have CM Punk turn heel and ally with his own foe, Dwayne, to get his WrestleMania main event. But as I said before, that favor from Heyman just goes out the window. So I don't think that's what's going to happen. Here is what I'm going with. This is my bold prediction for Saturday's Elimination Chamber event. Cody Rhodes comes face-to-face with John Cena after John Cena wins the Elimination Chamber. And as they're face-to-face, Cody Rhodes snaps and he turns heel. After previously denying The Rock's offer earlier in the night, Cody Rhodes turns heel on John Cena after the Elimination Chamber match and aligns himself with The Rock to become a heel corporate champion for the first time in his WWE career. And I feel like a build between a face John Cena versus a corporate Cody Rhodes, even if they throw in a third member, CM Punk, whatnot, but that one-on-one build, especially with The Rock involved in some capacity, would be so good. I would love that feud so much. It would be great. It would be amazing, in my opinion. But that's my bold prediction. John Cena wins. Cody Rhodes turns heel. They lead to a WrestleMania match. That's all I've got for today. We'll see if I'm right. My predictions last pay-per-view for NXT weren't very good. We'll see if I'm right on this one. But as always, we'll see if I'm right. And I'll see you guys next week. Peace.